Are those facilities enough? Are those facilities spread across the country to be able to serve the people? Are the facilities ready to accommodate the numbers that will be even visiting those facilities? If you decide to even call retardants, which I know they will not come based on comments that they have made out in public, would they be able to serve the numbers? So the solution is just sitting with them, trying to sit with them to meet them halfway, if not fully. Because you see, they see the things that the budgets that goes to other places. They see how government is utilizing its budgetary allocations in other places. And right now, people are very enlightened and they follow these things and they feel like, you know what, you are not even listening to us. If the minister changes his position, if the government changes his position, I believe the nurses are human. They will come to the table to sit. But then I know the Parliamentary Committee on Health has raised the issues and they would want to sit with both sides to understand and discuss the issues so that we have solution. And the media budget is coming. I'm hopeful that maybe Honorable Atuforsin and the Minister for Health can put in something in the media budget so that once they know that there's some budgetary allocation, they will get the comfort to return to our hospitals and commit their services to the country. That is what I have to say about
All
this.
right, Fred.
Moro.
Parliament has summoned them.
Yeah, it is most unfortunate that we are back to this issue of people within the health sector embarking on industrial action. Life is only one. When you lose it, there's no way you can get it back again. And so it's an essential service because there's no replacement for life. When we have embarked on all the strike, the industrial actions and everything, and eventually our demands are met, how are we able to retrieve the lives that are lost? How are we able to bring them back? Now, the issue under consideration is not limited to just one or two people. Any one of us could be a victim of it. It may not be you directly, your brother, your sister, your friend, your relative, including the nurse's relative, could become a victim of this action. And for how long are we going to continue this cycle? Today we speak, and I'm sure Honorable can attest to that fact. The number of young people who have finished SS who are calling on you, they want to enter into the nursing training college. Everybody is calling. Either send money for the forms or help us to get admission into the colleges, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, when they get in there, the next thing we hear is that, oh, our allowances has been delayed for a very long time, not been paid. Sometimes you hear the strike, you hear the demonstration, you hear this and that. When finally they finish school and they start working, some allowances have not been paid, not necessarily their salaries. So it is enough to lay down tools. You see, I'm struggling to handle the issue. And this is a Social Democratic Party. Labour is our friend. Pro-poor policies are our main focus and agenda. All the concerns that they've tabled are not things you can say happen post 7 January 2025. Yes. These are things that happened before NDC came into office. Every issue that they have raised are things that happened before we took office, i.e., their rent allowance, their people who are still posting to rural areas allowance. Who even introduced this compulsory nursing national service thing for nurses that we spoke against? Because in the past, once you finish your nursing college, straight away you are posted to go and work. And you remain on that allowance. When your results come and you have passed, you are migrated into a salary structure. Then they go to a point because government cannot absorb them immediately into the system. The government introduced this elephant they call national service. And they did the national for 1 year. They were not paid. And the story has it that some of them, as far back as 2020, 2021, 2022, 2020, 2024, all these allowances we are talking about. Ghana is on an IMF program. We are going for 2020 elections, 2024 elections. We want to win elections. And so let's meet the labor unions. Let's entice them. Let's promise them heaven on earth. Let's say that we can do everything for them just so they can go and vote for us. Unfortunately, because they are rational human beings, and you have done that in the past, and you never fulfill the promise you made, they decided to go and vote against you. A new government has come into office. We have shown good faith. We have engaged them. We have asked that return to the negotiating table. Let's discuss the issues. Tomorrow, when we're campaigning for 2024 elections, one of the concerns some of us received from well-meaning Ghanaians was the fact that how are you guys going to govern the country when you have won the elections? And you ask them why. But we all know the country is broke to the knee. Everything is gone. How are people going to govern the country? And so when finally we won the elections, and January came, we were able to pay salaries. February came, we paid salaries. Just said, God is with this president, and God is with this government. And the former could say, Jack, our currency that was running all over the place has been stabilized, and it's even gaining weight. Before we could say, Jack, fuel prices were coming down the pump. As people are breathing new air, something good is happening in the economy. This is a government that is very, very key on creating employment for the youth. We are very particular about it. And deliberately we have said we don't want to create just any form of job. We want to get permanent job with dignity. You can work and get proper remuneration. And so come back, let's sit down. Those promises that were made for you to you in 2024, they were election gimmicks. Where we are now, you are demanding almost 2 billion, right? Dollars, right?
No,
2 million.
It will cost us 2 billion.
2 billion.
According to the deputy
Yeah,
minister.
2 billion.
Yes.
See, according to the deputy minister to do it.
To implement it.
To implement, we are saying that when we are immediately to cover that money, it could create a few problems. So you come, let's sit down, let's find a way out. See, I remember in 2007, right, when the single spine salary structure came, was introduced at 737. We couldn't implement it in 2007, not in 2008. When we were going to elections, the government then made a commitment that we're going to implement in 2009. President Kufuor's administration went ahead to even increase workers' salary across the board by 30% or so. You remember? When Professor Mills won elections, we sat out with labor. They are rational human beings. They are members of our society. And they knew the economy were inheriting. They agreed for the president to defer the implementation to 2010. You remember? Before the single spine salary structure thing was kicked in. Our brothers and sisters who are providing healthcare services, nobody can downplay the work we are doing. In this country, we also agree that we are government is pretending to be paying people, and workers are pretending to be working. Because our economy simply cannot sustain all that all of us are looking for. Is there enough of us who is comfortable with anything we have or we are getting? No. So everybody is trying to manage. At no point has the minister said, we are not going to yield to your concerns. At no point has the minister said, we are not going to pay. If you were in the shoes of the minister and you visit Kolebu and people are dying right in front of you, people are being turned down in front of you, and you have that human feeling in the spur of the moment, you would imagine that how do we solve the problem in the short term? Can we recall former nurses to come and help? Why? Go and ask your senior, the Honorable Safumafu. I've forgotten. When teachers embark on strike in this country, what did he say then? Didn't he say they were going to bring retired teachers to come and assist? In fact, they even went to the extent of doing it. You've forgotten? You see, we politicians sometimes, we are just too funny. Because now you're in opposition, suddenly you have become friends of the nurses. And I've watched some of the social platform. Some of the MPP journalists say, yeah, you have seen it. If there's anybody, any government in history that has paid attention to the needs of health workers in this country, it is the NDC. It is the NDC. We have been very, very, very particular. And so if there's a problem that we have inherited, we didn't create the problem. So let's sit down. Why can't we all sit down? Because at the end of the day, if it were the case that, oh, we've not been paid our salaries, we can't work on empty stomach. All of us can, if it's the government, wherever the money is, cough it. But at least some is coming. Some is in arrears. Some of the allowance we are told as 2 years in arrears, 24 months, 25 months, 26 months. How do you hold a new government 5 months in office to ransom? By your decision. And I ask again, when finally the monies have been paid, those lives that have been lost, how do we recall those lives? How do we get those lives back? All of us will add our voice in admonishing our healthcare practitioners that we can find a solution to this issue without necessarily abandoning the wards and abandoning the vulnerable people. As it's often said, when two elephants fight, who suffers? It's the grass. The people who will suffer most are the very ordinary poor people whose taxes they use in taking care of all of us through school, whose taxes they have used in putting up hospitals and equip the hospitals for us to go and serve them in return. They are the people who suffer the most. And so we can only appeal to them that go back and work. Let us go back to the negotiating table and find a solution. Where I sit, looking at how essential healthcare provision is in this country, and these recurrent strikes, by the time nurses are over, the pharmacists will follow. By the time they are finished, doctors will follow. By the time, and it becomes so cyclical every now and then. I say every day, you think the police service, they are comfortable? Have you ever been to their barracks? Have you seen their TVs and fridges and everything outside? Have you seen the small ghetto where they leave their wives and children? Have you checked their washrooms? Have you checked the drain system around their houses? If the police decide that we are going on a strike for 24 hours, can we live in this country? Don't we see them standing in the scorching sun? Don't we see them in the rain, trying to maintain order, trying to maintain peace, trying to clear traffic and everything for all of us? Everybody's job is important. Let me use this. The fingers that we have, 5 of them, every finger is playing a role. It comes together to make your fist. If you cut one off, you have a problem. And so in as much as we agree that the services you are rendering are key and crucial, and so your needs must be attended to, look at the larger picture. Look at the larger picture. Like my brother rightly said, the government presented the first ever budget. We all know that there will be a supplementary budget. Assuming the first budget, provision was not made for salaries for healthcare workers. That's something all of us will question immediately. But these are arrears and allowances that definitely will be taken care of. Are we not getting to a point in this country where we should be shifting most of our healthcare institutions into the security services? Can we not have fire service to start now managing some of the healthcare institutions?
Right.
Can we not have immigration manage some of the healthcare institutions? Can we not increase the numbers for the police, for the military, and everybody across board?
Well, let me ask you this. I've heard some people say that the CA, the collective agreement which was reached between the government of Ghana, and here I want to use generic, I don't want to use NDC and PP, between the government of Ghana and the striking nurses or the GRNMA, I'm sure that during the transition period, they were handing over notes by the health minister, and at the time, it must have been,
Aminanta, Dr. Aminanta.
No, the
No,
health
health-
Oh,
minister.
health minister, sorry. Okoboy.
Yes, also
Okuboy.
Dr. Okuboy.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure
I haven't
Dr.
seen him in a
Okuboy
while.
in his handing over notes would have,
Yeah.
would have informed or appraised, what do you call it, the incoming government of what the state of our health sector was, i.e., persons who had been negotiated with and what they were expecting, and so on and so forth. So, having looked at the handing over notes, I'm sure the government at the time would have known that there have been a collective agreement with this labor body. How didn't that factor into the 2025 budget? Do you have any idea?
But I've just told you that, yes, when a new government comes into office, there's a transition, handing over notes are given to you.
Yes.
Handing over notes don't only come from the health sector.
Right.
They come from every sector. As a manager of an economy, you look at what you have and what you're supposed to spend on.
Yes.
Can you take care of everything at the same time? Do you understand? So you stagger it. We are not saying that the allowances are not important. We are not saying that it is not part of their condition of service. Like he rightly said, lecturers at our tertiary institution, they also need their books and research allowances.
So, for instance,
Okay.
did the government sit with the striking, or did the government sit with this body or this association to tell them that, look, we've been going through a transition
But the
document.
only time you can do that is when the people agree to come and sit with you. But when you invite them, the people don't want to sit with you. What happens?
I'm saying that. Do you know? I do not want to assume you have all the information.
Of course, I
about this.
couldn't.
Yes. I'm saying that. Do you know whether some invitation was extended to the body or the association to say, listen, this is what we've taken over. This is what we've been bequeathed with. We've just found out through the handing over notes that apparently you had reached some agreement with the government to do X, Y, Z. But the truth of the matter is that when we look at what is in our coffers, what we came to meet, as against what we intend to do, we do not think that we'll be able to implement this policy or this agreement now. So we beg you, can we look at implementing this during the mid-year budget? And I'm saying that what sort of engagement was had with them
I am
so that
aware.
we don't even get here?
I am aware that
that's what I'm
some
asking you.
engagement has taken place.
When?
Now, the timelines I'm not too sure,
so
but some
that's what
engagements
I'm
have taken
interested in.
place. Some conversation has taken place.
Because,
behind
and I'm
the
asking you this
scene and
because when you
behind
listen
the
to the nurses, what they say in their public commentary is that nobody has sat down with them to tell them that the government won't be able to implement it. So they waited, nothing happened, and then they looked at the budget and realized that there was nothing in it. And so they went to the health minister and said, how come our concerns have not been captured in the budget? And that's where the problem started.
So
The
let
government
me just
decided to prefer the whole thing to 2026.
2026. And that's what got them
created
upset.
the
you
issue.
see, what triggered this whole issue really
Okay.
has to do with some healthcare practitioners who were employed.
Yes.
The chief of staff issued a directive that employment should cease after the elections, so that we'll look at our kitty ability to pay vis-a-vis the fact that we're running an IMF program and all that before we proceed. This directive was violated. Some persons were engaged. Anytime you employ people, you have increased your wage bill. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Now, whether you have the ability, do you want a situation where let's just employ, we don't have the means to pay them. At the end of the day, the people will come back and strike and we are not even going to work. So we are investigating all these issues. When we are finished and we think that, yes, we need this number of people, they will be allowed to go back to work. The major concern and what triggered this whole thing is the fact that the leadership of the nursing association is saying they are overwhelmed. Their numbers are few. And so get these people to come and work. And government is saying that as for employment, we would have food that we can employ everybody today. But our ability to pay them based on the economy you have inherited. Again, Moro, I don't want to belittle the issue. I don't want to come across as though I'm not empathetic towards the concern of the nurses.
Right.
As I said, we all go to hospital.
Right.
We know the things that our healthcare practitioners go through.
Right.
If you come to my district runners, I speak to you, The whole district, we have only one medical doctor.
Okay.
So assuming everybody decides to go to that particular clinic, the Lipe Bakwa clinic, to go and access healthcare, how is it possible that that one doctor can take care of everybody?
Right.
And so people are going to adjoining districts to go and seek for medical care. We all go, we see what the nurses go through. And like I said, we see what the military go through, we see what the police go through, we see what the teachers go through. You go to a classroom and go and meet one young teacher with about almost 80 students, 100 students. You are teaching a number of classes, you are marking students. It is not easy for anybody. But communication must be the issue. Okay, I'm not too sure the extent to which the engagement has gone, but I believe the minister has been involved. So when you criticize the minister and make it look as though he just out of nothing make a comment, I'm going to bring a retired health nurses back to come and assist, I don't think we are being fair to him.
Okay.
In the spur of the moment, and people are dying, people are going through challenges. What do you expect the minister to do?
Okay.
If you sit there and watch aloof, when the people have refused to aloof, when the people have refused to come close for them to have a conversation. I am just with this platform to appeal to our nurses. Please, let's return to work. All of us are at risk. You may get whatever you want, but the lives that will lose through this process, there's no way we can get those lives back. And that will be something that will worry us, all of us to worry us. It could be your brother, it could be your sister, it could be your mother, it could be your wife, it could be your child. Your families are scattered all across the whole country. And so I want to beg, the rich people in society, when it matters most, they will go to private hospitals.
Okay.
They will go and see healthcare over there. Those who have the means will even travel abroad to go and do it.
Okay.
The ordinary person who doesn't have the means, what happens to him?
All right.
And so this is a listening government.
Okay.
This is a government that has come to fix the mess that we inherited.
Okay.
But we believe there's a process. It's not an event. There's no way we can solve all these problems that has lingered on for God knows how long within 5 months. And so please go back. Let's sit down. Let's discuss dispassionately. Let's see what is feasible. What government can do for all of us to have peace and run this country.
All right, so let me read a few messages. We have just 3 minutes to go. So let me use 1 minute to read some of the messages that have come through. So Alfred Kojo Triddles, he sent me a message.
My brother Triddles.
He says, I'm quite astonished hearing the MPP MP submissions on the nurses' strike. If he has lost a family member during the strike, I'm not sure he will be talking the way he did. Moro, let's all appeal to our nurses to just tamper justice with mercy and return to work. Now, those dying cannot be brought back to life when their needs are met. That's Alfred Kojo Triddles. And this one here from McLean says that if this nurses' strike had happened and that the MPP administration, John Mahama, would have likely taken to social media to express his support for the nurses. However, the current silence from him since the strike began is notable. It raises questions about the response of a leader who, when in opposition, was always willing for Ghanaians. The nurses are not asking for extravagant demands. They are simply seeking basic improvement to make their working conditions more comfortable. Yet, this government appears to be dismissing their legitimate concerns. This insensitivity towards the plight of healthcare workers is disappointing. It's important to advocate for the nurses who dedicate their lives to caring
from McLean.
for others. That's
McLean's on a
from
rough
Sefi. We also sent that message.
Ignore McLean. He's on a rough road.
And this one here, let me quickly look at this one from. Okay, so Mr. Kakrai Samoa, who's the Director of Communications for the NDC, he says, even after a court has given a judgment, parties can negotiate on how it should be enforced.
That's right.
So not only that, absolutely nothing stops parties from varying the terms of the judgment to suit them. That's coming from Mr. Kakra Samoa. And
exactly so.
This one, okay, I've got quite a number, but I'll look at them. So let me just take your concluding remarks on the issues that we've talked about in just 2 minutes.
Moro, so
yes, sir.
Nobody, I've been in a union before, and nobody goes into negotiations with the mindset that they will get 100% of what they are bargaining for.
Okay.
Because we know that there are scarce resources, and definitely government may not be able to meet all the expectations.
Yeah.
So that said, I believe it all boils down to trust. The nurses trusting the government. You see, this is the government that in the past, they cancelled nurses' allowance, met with nurses, promised them things, and it didn't come on and so on. In the 2024 elections, I've seen videos where nurses met with President John Mahama, then candidate John Mahama, and he made a lot of promises to them, even turning the then government, the government against the nurses and so on. And he got the buy-in of the nurses. He got them to believe that he was their hope and he was going to give them so much. So fast forward, you win an election, in your first budget, you forget them, knowing very well, like you rightly said, that couldn't it have been possible that in the transition, the government would have seen these documentations or these CBAs to even consider it coming in the budget. But be as it may, it has happened that it wasn't captured in the budget. I think they should go and sit down with the nurses.
Okay.
The initial posturing wasn't good. To go into, to have a discussion and then go out to tell the person, you know what, I can't do it for you. Let's consider 2026. This year, you are not considered in my budget. It's kind of disrespectful to them because they also they're also considering their lives, they are considering their efforts, they are considering the risk involved in the work and everything that they are not getting. So I think government should sit down with them, at least meet them halfway. Today, the Parliamentary Committee on Health will be meeting their leaders, and I believe something fruitful will come out from it. Based on their meeting, I am sure the committee may make suggestions to Parliament and the Minister of Finance to consider them in the media budget. And if that happens, I believe that they will calm down and then they will all come to that realization. But I am supporting my brother to plead on behalf of the nurses that lives are at stake. It may be any of their family members. So they should be considerate enough whilst pushing for their rights. They should be considerate enough so that this thing does not extend to the point where we may lose lives, and those lives we may not be able to get back. That is what I have to say.
All right, so the national budget preparation starts in July when the Minister of Finance issues a circular which gives guidance. I believe the estimates of the GHS, which falls under the MOH, was completed long before the case in court was completed in January. The budget statement is more of a political statement. They should go and negotiate. Maybe their payment could find space in the media review if the government finds a revenue windfall. But the sender of the message, I wish the person had attached their name so that I can read it. But anyway, so this one, Ali Hureya, your very good friend, he says I should say hello. He says he's thanking you he says greetings to tell him the police service is grateful. I don't know what exactly.
The comments he made about the police service.
Oh, that's what he meant. That's what he meant. All right, so finally, Alhaji Ali Duharina, your other very good friend, says that Ablekuma Central?
Central.
He says it's important to assess leaders by their democratic stance. How can any right-thinking Ghanaian will even think of or contemplate the JM who has demonstrated by deeds and action with strong democratic credentials would seek for a third tenure? In any case, it is not the Ghanaian people who would vote. Is it not the Ghanaian people who would vote, or it's an automatic path to the presidency? I think it's a response to what you said.
But I've never mentioned JM going for a third tenure here.
No, you mentioned your. Yes. Anyway, so thank you very much for your time.
You didn't give me.
No, our time is up. I'm sorry. Our time is up. I'm sorry. So Michael Edu is an MP for the good people of.
You're not giving anything to run up.
And our friend Agwejo is MP for Guan. We're still fighting to get it changed to Sal. Thank you so very much. And my name is Aldu Moro. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.
See the levy once a maba. I am a be a credit, which the movie and Tiasia.
Fifra ye free nyina ye de obedientia de ya fugia ne aduane saa soro pintin bi aseda o me de ye di koye mu ne de awie nyina na makuafo modem mo so won fifre so ne nya bidio na so bate aseman ga na mu a